G'day, g'day. How are we all? And welcome to the 2025 My Summer Car Build Guide. We're going to be doing everything with this Satsuma. We're going to be doing the chassis, the engine, interior, exterior, tuning, an alignment, wiring, and whatever needs doing, I guess. But yeah, this is it. Before you want to do this, you want to head down to Timo's. That's either using the bike or the boat, or taking the van from Uncle's, which is over that way. Real quickly though, to get the van, there are some good ways of getting him to spawn. That's one, by looking at the note here. Second way is to put the driver's seat into the car, and third, I believe, is putting in the dashboard, which is that thing over there. Those should hopefully like start a clock or something for him to start spawning in or something like that. So once you've grabbed everything from Timo's, you should have a battery, some fuel, coolant. You can use your own pee instead of coolant if you can't afford coolant, but yeah, that's optional. Spark plug box, motor oil, alternator belt, 3 brake and clutch fluid, 1 oil filter, and 2 car light bulb boxes, and wheels. And of course, what's also recommended is you go into the catalog here and you order yourself an AFR gauge and a ratchet set to make things a lot quicker. But in this guide, we're just going to be using the old spanner set here, just because there is a couple of things that you need to use for the spanner set, not the ratchet set. So these wheels here, these are actually from Lope, and the thing is, these are kind of no good anymore in the game. So if you grab a ruler here, you can see, boom, that wheel there is, it's had it. It's 1%. This one's 57. This one's 67. And the bottom one here is also, wow, 1%. That's actually wild. Usually I think it's only 1 wheel, but it's 2. So these wheels are a dud. So I recommend you either buy some rims from the catalog here. You got 6 different rims you can choose from. Personally, I would probably save my money. Personally, I would go to Pigman's house and look for the GT rims. Basically, if you pull into Pigman's driveway, off to the right is like a little shed, and basically in there on the floor is some rims, which are the GT rims for the Satsuma. And I would recommend probably taking those down to Flatari and putting some standards on them, so that way you can pass the inspection with ease, hopefully. But yeah, that's it pretty much. So yeah, let's get started, I guess. We're gonna first start off with the chassis, since that is pretty easy. What we're gonna do is we are gonna grab our subframe here and put it on like that. Let's actually bring our spanner set outside with us, just so it's a little easier, so we make less travel time. And for the subframe, it's a easy 10mm here, and we got 2 at the rear, but these are a little tricky because they're actually sort of underneath here, so you got to sort of find it. Yeah, you sort of got to line yourself up, and then boom, there you go. Pretty easy. All right, next up is the steering rack, which is this thing over here. This goes basically to the rear of the subframe, and the steering rack is a 9mm, and we've only got 4 bolts that we got to do. Now with that done, let's now grab the steering column, which is this thing here. This here just goes on the front like that, and to do those up, it is 2 8mm bolts. There's one on the bottom, which might be a bit hard to see, and then there's the one on top here. Easy. All right, let's move on to the wishbones now. There's a front left and there's a front right. These just go on like that. Easy. Let's now do the same on the other side. And to do these up, they are a 10mm, and there's only 2 bolts that we got to do. Also, I forgot to mention this, but make sure you do your bolts up all the way. Double, triple check them, because if you don't, you might have some problems. All right, next up are the spindles. These ones are a little tricky because there's a secret little bolt that a lot of people usually miss. But these go on the wishbones like so. And what we're looking for is a 12mm, and basically we're looking for a bolt. Oh, it just popped up. So there's basically yeah, you can see it there. You see that? See the bolt there? That's pretty much what we're doing. So that's going out of the wishbone into the spindle. Same thing on the other side. Pretty much I just line myself up in the middle here, and boom. Next up, the steering rods, which are these things here. Again, they got a front right and a front left, and these basically go Off over in this direction here, they sort of connect up to the steering rack. Oh. A little tricky to line up. There we go. Grab the other one now and pop it on. And we're going to just do them up now because it saves us having to do them up later for the struts. I know it might seem a little weird to do them up now when they're not connected to anything, but when we put the struts on, they'll automatically line themselves up and the game will... The wasp got in the house. I kind of forget that that's been added to the game. Next up with the disc brakes, which are these things here. And these go on the front like so. Now, we're not going to do these ones up just yet because we need to put half shafts in yet, which are these here. And basically, what you want to do is you want to make sure that the flat end here is sticking outward. Now, I think it is possible to put it in facing the other way. Yeah, it's possible. Now we're going to do the disc brake, which is a 14 mil, and there's just one bolt right in the middle there. That there will hold in the half shaft to the spindle. We're also going to do the half shaft as well, and then we're going to grab ourselves a 9 mil, and there are 3 that we got to do. Now you might wonder, again, you're doing it into nothing, but once we put the engine in, the game will recognize the bolts have already been done up and it will just connect up. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. Next up with the struts, this can get a little complex. So let's just put that one on and this one on. This one's got a few that we got to do up. We'll start with the easy ones, which are a 10 mil. And these are the 3 little nuts that we got to do on top of here. Those are now done. Now to do the back bolts here. As you can see, these ones here, they are a 9 mil. There are 4 of them we got to do. 2 on each side. And that there's the front of the suspension, pretty much. So now we're going to move on to the rear of the car. And then we're going to start it off with a trail arm. And these pretty much go up the back. Same thing with the other. It sort of just goes up to the back of the car here, like that. And to do these up, they are a 12 mil, and we've only got 2 bolts that we got to do. They can be a bit tricky, but you can see there's like a nut thing there. So if you line yourself up, there's the bolt. Pretty much the bolt goes into that. Same thing on the other side, which is a bit more trickier to see as it's more under the car. Alright, there we go. There's the trail arms done. Alrighty, next up are the coil springs. These have, you know, you just put these in by hand, and they basically go over this like black rubber thing here. The car will, you know, spring up, don't worry. It might sound like it's being damaged, but shouldn't really be damaging the car that much. Again, on the same side, boom, there we go. Next up are the shock absorbers, which are these things here. Pretty much we want to flip this around where it's like looking like this. And we want to line it up with that hole there sort of thing. So we want to sort of, you know, try and line ourselves up a little here. It might be a little glitchy, but with time and patience, there we go. Just like that. And we'll grab the other one as well. Same thing again. Basically just line yourself up. You might have to go off a little off the actual circle just to get it in the go-to place. Now we're going to grab a 6 mil here, and there are 2 little like bolts that we're going to do at the bottom of this. One there that sticks out pretty well, but the other one is a little trickier. Yeah, it's sort of hidden. Basically, it should be facing pretty straight from the other bolt. So those are in. There's another bolt we're going to do, which is a 12 mil. Basically, if we go to the back of the car, you can see there is some nuts that we're going to do up. And to finish off the rear suspension, we're going to do the drum brakes now. And these are a 14 mil. And there's only one you're going to do. Easy. That's it. That's pretty much the suspension done. Now, for the sake of the tutorial, we are going to be putting the wheels on the car. But yeah, let's just say you got your proper wheels. And yeah, so we're going to be putting these on. So basically, I think when you first put the wheels on the car for the first time, you don't need a jack for some reason. So you're able to just do that, basically. But once you do take the wheels off again, you will have to use a jack. To do these up, they are a 13 mil, and there are 4 bolts, or 4 nuts actually, on each wheel that we've got to do. And there you go. There is all the suspension and the wheels done, and that's it. We're now ready to move on to the next stage. So we're going to grab our spanner set here, and we are simply going to just pop it on the table here. Let's make a bit of room. Let's move this air filter out the way. Probably move these rear lights. And the headlights, we'll just put these out of the way as well. Because again, we're going to need some room, you know, working with an engine here. So, and yeah, let's get started with the engine. Alrighty, let's get started. Let's turn the light on just so we can see a little better. And we are firstly going to grab the block. There we go. Next up is the crankshaft, which is this thing over here. And that just goes on like so. And to hold the crankshaft to the block, we are going to need the main bearings, which are over here. And number 3 bearing goes to the left. Number 2 bearing goes in the middle. And number 1 goes to the right. And to do up those main bearings, they are a 9 mil, and we've got 2 bolts on each bearing that we've got to do. Next up are the pistons. Now what we're going to do is we are going to flip the block around like that, and we're going to grab our pistons. Now your pistons may either be all the same, or you might have that one dud piston, but obviously it's going to work, but it's going to have more wear. And for the pistons, it is a 7 mil, and we're going to get 2 of these bolts, nuts. Get my words all mixed up here. Next up is the head gasket. Again, we're going to flip the engine around like that, and we're going to grab our head gasket and put that on. Next up, we are going to grab the cylinder head and pop it on like so. Again, make sure you put the head gasket on, because I've done it many times where I've put the whole top of the engine on and forgot the head gasket. So yeah, don't forget that. To do the cylinder head, it is a 7 mil, and there are a total of 10 bolts that we've got to do. Next up are the headers, which is this here. And this pretty much goes basically just like that on the side. And to do those up, it is an 8 mil, and there are 5 that we've got to do. Now we are going to put the engine onto the motor hoist, just so that way it's going to be a little bit easier to work with. What I usually like to do is get the grill, put it down like that. I just realized I was actually putting this on the wrong way, so it's actually going to face this way. There you go. Pretty much, let's have it like that. And what we want to hear is like a little ding noise. There we go. Hear a little ding, and you can actually see that the bolts have appeared. So to do those little bolts that just appeared, and we'll do that one up, and then 2 clicks after this one, boom, there we go. That is now connected to the hoist. Let's now move the grill out of the way. And now when you handle the actual hoist, you want to be very careful. You don't want to move it too fast, because if you do, you're going to fling the engine off of it and it's going to be glitched. So you don't want that. Obviously, if you do that, there is a fix. Just restart the game. And if not, if that doesn't work, try to undo the bolts here and then restart the game and see if that works. Next up is the rocket shaft. We're going to put that on here on the top of the cylinder head. And to do that one up, it is a 8 mil. And there are 5 bolts that we're going to do. Now, this would be the perfect time to do the tuning, the alignment for the rockers. So we're going to be doing that, but obviously we're going to be doing the rest of the tuning and alignment later in the video. But for the rockers, we're going to do them now, because it's just a lot more convenient that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab ourselves a screwdriver, and basically we want to look for these little screw heads here, and these are what we're adjusting. So we're going to scroll down on our mouse wheel all the way until they stop moving. And now with everything all the way down and nothing else is moving, we want to go 7 clicks up on our mouse on each rocker. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Pretty much we want to do that for every rocker. All right, now with that done, we are now going to cover those rockers with a rocker cover. And that there is a 7mm. Next up, we are going to do the spark plugs. Again, because it's just easy that way. So let's grab all our spark plugs here. What we're going to need to grab is our spark plug wrench. And let's now grab our spark plugs and put them in the holes. Once the spark plugs are in the cylinder head, we are now going to do up the spark plugs with the wrench. Make sure these ones are all the way in, by the way, because even if they're like undone by 1 or 2 clicks, you'll probably have some electrical and power problems. So if you're having any troubles with maybe a bit of lack of power or whatever, just check your spark plugs, make sure they're all the way in. Next up is the camshaft, which is this little thing here. And this one's a little tricky, but what we're looking to do is put it into that little hole there. So if we can line it up, it might be a little hard to do. There we go. Oh, there we go. Just like that. And to do the camshaft, it is a 5mm. And there is 2 little bolts that we got to do on the side here. There we go. Next up is the camshaft gear, which is this thing here. And this just goes over the top of that camshaft like that. And this is also where we do, you know, tune our camshafts sort of thing. Basically, there is a line, like a black line there. And what we want to do is we want to line it up with that line there. There's also another line there, but that always stays there. Same with that. So what we're looking to do is do up the camshaft gear. And now once it's fully done, you'll see that it actually moves the more you do it up sort of thing. And what we want to do is line it up just like that. So make sure they're perfectly straight. That's all you need to do. Don't touch it anymore because you're going to have to redo it again. And hold that in, we will use our timing chain just to lock it in place. There we go. Next up is our timing cover, which is this here. And that just goes over the top like that. And the timing cover is a 6mm. And we've got 6 bolts that we're going to do. Next up is the water pump, which is this here. And that just goes over there like that. And to do that one up, it's a 7mm. And there are 5 nuts that we got to do. Well, 4 nuts and 1 bolt. That's all done. Next up is the water pump pulley. And this just goes right over the water pump. And this again is another 7mm. Next up is the crankshaft pulley, which is this here. And that just goes over that little hole. And to do that up, it is an 11mm. And there's only 1 big bolt we got to do. Alright, next up is the alternator, which is this. And this just goes on the side of the block like that. We'll do the hidden bolt real quick, which is a 10mm. Basically, we want to go to the back here and do this bolt up. Nut. So once that nut's done up, we can now move on to the 7mm. And we'll do this top bolt here. So there's the alternator and then it comes up in here into the cylinder head. There we go. And now what we want to do is by hand push the alternator in all the way to the left, scroll on up on our wheel, and we are going to grab our alternator belt and put it on like so. And what we want to do is we're going to do the alternator belt as well. Since we're here, we might as well align it. So what we're going to do is scroll down all the way on our wheel until it stops moving. And then we're going to do 2 clicks forward on our mouse. So 1, 2, boom. There you go. And to hold that one in, we're going to grab our screwdriver and simply do up the screw here. Next up is the distributor, which is this here. And this goes onto the front just by that hole there. And this one, you kind of have to tune by ear. So we're just going to leave it as is for now. So when we do start up the car, we will probably hear like a ringing noise and we'll have to adjust it then. But for now, to do it up, we're going to do a screwdriver. Next up is the engine plate. And now we are going to be going on to the other side of the engine. And that just goes on And we are now going to grab our starter, and this basically just goes in that hole there. There we go. And to hold that one in, it's a 7mm. Now there's one that's facing you pretty much like that, and then there's like a hidden bolt that's pretty much like inside. Yeah, there's pretty much another bolt here. Next up is the flywheel, which is this, and this just goes right over the top of the engine plate. We are now going to grab our 7mm, and there are 6 bolts that we're going to do up. Next up, we are going to do the clutch. Now, we need to sort of build the clutch here. So we got a clutch cover plate, a clutch pressure plate, and the actual clutch disc itself. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to grab the pressure plate and put it with the cover plate. And boom, that's it assembled, basically. And what we're then going to do is put the clutch disc inside of this. And there you go. There's the clutch. Easy. And that just goes right over the top of the flywheel. And to do that up, it is a 6mm, and we've got 6 bolts that we're going to do. Next up is the oil pan, which is this, and this just goes right on the top, or on the bottom, I mean, like that. And we're going to start with the 13mm, which is the actual, you know, the sump plug, which is on the very bottom here. Make sure we do this one up real tight. And we are now going to grab our 7mm, and we are going to do up 8 of these bolts. There we go. That's the oil pan on. Next up is the gearbox, which is this, and that just goes right over the oil pan. And again, we're going to do the hidden bolt, which is a 10mm, and basically it's just this bolt right here that we do up. Easy. Now, we are going to do up the rest of the gearbox, but first we're going to grab the inspection plate, and that just goes over the top, hiding the flywheel here, like that. Alright, now with that on, we are now going to grab a 7mm, and we are going to do up the inspection plate and also the gearbox. There is 3 bolts on each side of this. Next up is the drive gear, which is this, and this just goes into that little hole there. And this one is a 6mm. Next up is the carburetor, which is this here, and this just goes over sort of like on top of the headers, like that. And to do that up, it is an 8mm, and there are 4 nuts that we got to do up. And we are also going to install the air filter, like that. And this is a 6mm, the air filter. There are 2 bolts that we're going to do up here. Next up is the oil filter. You do have this one. I personally don't know if this really works or not, but you should obviously buy a brand new one, like we have here. And this just goes over the top of this thing here. And basically, to do this up, you do it up by hand by scrolling up on the wheel. Next up is the fuel pump, which is this here, and this goes onto this little thing here, like that. And to do it up, it is a 7mm, and there are 2 nuts that we got to do. Alrighty, that there is the engine. That's complete. Now all we got to do is put it in the Satsuma. Let's carefully grab the motor hoist here, and we are just gonna slowly walk over to the Satsuma without, you know, moving our mouse too much. And what we want to do is sort of line ourselves up here, and that's not too bad. If we do drop this, it should hopefully go back a little. Nice, we might actually get this on the first go. Alrighty, now what we want to do is we want to drop it down not too low. Yeah, that's too low. Have it at a pretty good height. Now what we're looking for is some bolts that are going to appear. Just like this. There is 1 bolt there, 1 bolt there. There should be 1 on the back, like that. Those bolts won't be there originally, but they will appear when the engine is in a spot where it can be like screwed onto the actual subframe. So what we're going to do now is grab our 11mm, and we're going to do up 3 of those bolts. Now if we do up 1 of the bolts, it should just automatically connect the engine to the subframe. There we go, just like that. And to remove the bolts that are on the hoist that are connected to the headers and the cylinder head, we are going to grab a 10mm and just undo them. And once we do this, the car should sort of drop a little. Go, and that's it. That is the engine off the hoist. And now on to the Satsuma. Look at that. Very nice. But yeah, now that the engine's in, we are now going to move on to the, the other engine stuff, connect up all the, the hoses, the radiator, the master cylinders, etc. So we're going to be doing that right now. Alrighty, let's now grab our electrics here, and we are going to put that into the engine bay. And this just connects over to the left here. So we want to sort of line it up a little bit like that. There we go. We're actually going to grab our spanner set and bring it outside with us now that we're working outside again. And to do the electrics, it is an 8mm. And there are 2 bolts just like that we're going to do up. And then boom, that's all connected. That goes into the spark plugs and the distributor. Next up is the fuel strainer, which is this little thing at the bottom. And this also goes to the left as well. I think it's a little below the electrics. Yeah, there we go. And to do that up, it's also an 8mm, and there's only 1 bolt you got to do, which goes here. Next up is the clutch and brake master cylinder. Now, I'm going to make sure to actually do the bolts that are actually inside the car and not, forget them. So these just go over to the right. Clutch and brake master cylinders are in. Now we are going to grab a 9mm. And we're going to go inside the Satsuma here. And underneath, like this, are 2 bolts that are on the pedals. We're going to do them up. This one I always forget because it's just one of them bolts that are just, just don't think it's going to be there. But it is. But yeah, that's those 2 done. Now we want to grab an 8mm and secure the actual master cylinders to the car. Easy, that's those in. Next up we're going to do is the clutch lining, and the clutch lining is this thing here. And what we want to do is sort of push this up to the back of the car, like that. So now we can see that that lining is going all the way to the gearbox. And to do that one up, it is a 7mm, and there are 2 that we're going to do up. One goes to the actual master cylinder. And again, if we follow the line, it goes all the way to the gearbox. And that there is the clutch lining, all done. Next up is the brake lining. Now this one is tricky. Again, we're going to put this up to the back of the engine bay. Again, with the 7mm, we are now going to count. To make this easier, I'm probably going to start with the wheels. So obviously, you're looking for the line, comes down, and then boom, there it is. Right onto the disc brake. That's 1. And for the rear, again, there's the line, and then there's the nut that you're going to do. There's 2. And 4. Now, we're going to be doing the ones on the engine bay, which are going to be a little tricky, right? So, we're going to start with this one at the bottom here. That's 5. Now we're going to move up to the left here, and there are 2 nuts on the brake master cylinder here. 6 and 7, and we're going to move over to the left here, and there is going to be 1 up here, 1 down to the left here, and 2 on the right here. Start with the top. 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's 11. That's all done. Brake lining is done. Next up is the fuel tank, which is this thing here. And pretty much this goes below the back of the car. Just like that sort of thing. Now you can either leave the car out here or you could bring it inside. But the problem is our wheels are unaligned. They're not very straight. So when we do push the car, it's going to sort of veer in the direction we don't want it to go. So we can either leave it out here and use a jack to lift up the car just to see underneath sort of thing for the fuel tank, or we can push it into the garage. Since I'm a professional, we're going to push it in the garage. Alrighty, there we go. Satsuma is in the garage. And we might actually start off with the 12 mil here, which is going to be the fuel line. So basically, here's the tank. We're going to make our way down, and we're looking for that right there. So there's the fuel line, and basically what we want to do is do this up. Now, this one you can't do with a ratchet. You've got to do it with a spanner. So just a tip there. So that's the fuel line done. That one I usually often forget. And to do up the actual fuel tank, it is an 11 mil, and there are 7 bolts that we got to do. Easy. That's the fuel tank done. And we're also going to put in the fuel tank pipe, which goes just in this hole here. That way you can actually fill up the car. Next up is going to be the exhaust. We're going to start off with the actual exhaust pipe down there. And to do that up, we are going to grab our 7 mil. And this one can be a little tricky, but again, we're going to line ourselves up sort of with the middle like that. Easy. And we're going to start off with the 2 bolts that are up here. Got 3 in total we got to do. There's that one on the left. This connects up into the headers. There we go. There's those 2 done. Now if we make our way down, and boom, there's the 3rd bolt that we got to. Next up is the muffler. This here can be a pretty buggy part. Let's see if it works. Okay, it actually worked first time. But usually if that falls off, just give it a minute. Try to put it back on again. If it does it again, just restart your game. To do that one up, it's also a 7 mil, and we've only got 1 bolt we've got to do, which is this bolt over here. There we go. That's that done. Next up is the gear linkage, which is this thing over here. And this goes under the car. Actually going to grab our 5 mil here. So pretty much we want to have it facing like this, and we want to sort of line it up here, sort of thing, like somewhere right about here. There we go. Now we've got 3 bolts we got to do. So there's the one up here, which is a little tricky to see. So if you pretty much just follow this all the way up, there's that one. 2 is down here. Easy. That's the gear linkage done. Put the battery in the car. Now obviously if you're taking a lot longer to build the car, you should probably have the battery on the charger here and there, just so it doesn't, you know, go dead. But that's the battery in. Actually, I kind of forgot, we've got to do the radiator. So there's the radiator. Pop it on just like that. And to do that one up, it is a 7 mil. We've got 4 bolts that we got to do on the radiator. Pretty much just 2 on each end. There we go. And now we're going to grab ourselves a screwdriver, and we are now going to start connecting the hoses. So with radiator hose 3, this one sort of sits at the bottom. So pretty much you see that hole there? That is going to go up and around sort of. So what we're going to do is sort of line ourselves up here, where it's going to potentially sit. See how it starts there and it comes around. And pretty much we're just going to do that one up. And we're going to do the same thing on the other end here. Again, doesn't matter if we're like screwing it up into nothing. The game's going to recognize it later on. Next up is radiator hose 1. That one goes from there to there. And that just goes on like that. Probably the easiest hose to do. Next up, final one is radiator hose 2. Now this one basically goes from here and then goes into there. So again, sort of line it up. A little blind, but you just sort of move it back to where it's going to sit. Just like that. Boom. Now, there isn't a thing that you can do there, so don't worry about it. But there is one here that you have to do up. Yeah, I don't know why there's one here, but there's not one there, even though there's clearly a, what's it called there, that looks like you can do it up with. But yeah, that's it. That's all the, you know, sort of other engine parts that you can do for the car. But yeah, next up, we are now going to move on to the interior and then the exterior and get the car looking pretty nice. Alrighty, now with all the, you know, other engine stuff done, we are now going to move on to the interior. Starting off, we are going to grab the steering wheel, which is this one over here. And this simply just goes on the steering column like that. And there is one nut that we've got to do up, which is a 10 mil. And just in the middle here, pretty easy one. Boom, that's in now, all done. Next up is the gear stick, which is a 6mm, and the gear stick is found down here next to the old battery. That goes in there like that, and there is 3 bolts that we gotta do up here. All done. Next up is the handbrake. Now we've got 2 different sizes here. We'll start off with the 8mm and handbrake. This is the handbrake over here, and this goes just down onto this hole here. Alrighty, that's that one done. Now we're going to move on to the 5mm, which is actually under the car. So if we come down here, and basically we're right under the handbrake. Now what we want to do is follow this line all the way to this little Y piece here, and there is our bolt that we're going to do up. There, and boom, there we go. We now have brakes for rear drum brakes. Next up are the front seats, which is a 9mm. We'll grab that real quick, and the front seats are just over here. Start with the passenger one first. Oh, careful not to move the actual Satsuma. Alright, we'll put that one in first, and then put the driver one in next. Like so. So for the passenger, there's one there, and there's another one here that's a little bit hidden. Same on the other side, you got one on the front. And then one that's sort of down back here, but it's a little hidden. Come on, where are you? There you are. And we're just going to do the same on the other seat. And there we go. There's the seats done. Next up is going to be the rear seat, since we're, doing the seats at the moment. The rear seat can be found out here. And pretty much these just go in the back here. There we go. And there are 2 bolts that we're going to do. One on this side. And one on this side. Easy. Next up is either the back panel or the subwoofer panel, but we're just going to go with the back panel here. There we go. Nice. Next up is the dashboard, which is this thing down here, and this goes on the front like so. Just be careful, because you can accidentally break your windshield. So I'd just recommend be careful when handling it. To do the dashboard, it is a 10mm, and there are 2 bolts that we got to do. 2 nuts actually. One inside the dashboard, and one just in the middle here. Easy. Done. Leave this open, because next up we're going to be doing the dashboard meters. Now with the dashboard meters, you can either put in the clock gauge or the radio, but we're going to be doing the radio. Might as well do the clock gauge as well. So we're just going to flip this around and simply put in the clock gauge. And to do the clock gauge, it is a 7mm, and there's basically just 2 little bolts there. Nothing fancy. And to actually put in the dashboard meter, it's a 6mm. And again, careful when handling this, because it can get a little glitchy. So just be careful. Try to line it up with the dash, like so. And there we go. There are the 2 bolts now there that we can do up. And there we go. That's the dashboard meters done. And that's it. That's all you need for the interior. Pretty simple. Pretty easy. So next up, we are now going to move on to the exterior. We're going to start off easy with the hood. And it's going to be a 6mm, which we already have. And basically this just goes on like so. And what we want to do is come over here and just pop the hood lock. And there are 2 bolts just here. And 2 bolts over there. 4 in total. There we go. Close that. Next up are the fenders, which is a 5mm. And there are 5 bolts that we're going to do for each fender. So we'll start with the left here. And then we'll grab the right one. Now, again, these can be a little glitchy to put on, because if you put them on, they might come off. So try to line them up as best as you can. And then, yeah, put them on. Alright, so we got one at the bottom here. One bolt down here. And then we've got one that's facing in front of us, just below the headlight. And there's actually 3 bolts here. I probably shouldn't have closed the hood. So open up the hood again. And what we're looking for are 3 bolts. There's one there, and one there. Alright, there we go. That's the fender's done. We can now close the hood. And look at that. Next up are the doors. The doors are a 10mm. And we've got a door left and a door right. Put the right one on first, since we're on the right side of the car. And then we'll come over here to the left. And now the trick is with this, you don't want to hold left click, you just want to tap it, basically. You want to time it right, pretty much. So if you fully open it up, it's just going to break off. So you don't want that. So pretty much with these, it's just 2 bolts. 2 up here and 2 at the bottom just down here. There they are. Pretty easy stuff. And now we can actually fully open and close the door without, without it breaking off. Same thing again, just sort of tap it and it will sort of lock in its place. Alrighty, that's the doors done. Nice. Next up is the boot lid, which just goes on the back here, just like so. And for the bolts, they are just inside here. And to do them up, it is a 6mm. There are 4 in total that we got to do. So we'll do these 2 up here. And then if we come around here, there's the other 2. So they're inside the boot lid pretty much. Boom, there we go. Next up are the bumpers, and the bumpers are 8mm. So we'll start with the rear. Again, the bumpers are a little funny. You've got to sort of line them up to put them on, because if you don't line them up properly, it might be a little, buggy. So to find these, pretty much you're looking for like a little, thing that pops out, and basically the bolt will be there like so. If you're having trouble, you can just always, line yourself up, sort of thing like so, and then it will just appear like that. Alright, that's all done. Next up is the grill, which is this thing here. And this just goes on the front of the car. Like so. Actually, I just remembered, leave it off for now, because we actually got to do the headlights first. Because if we put the grill on, we won't be able to do up the headlights correctly, really. So let's grab the headlights real quick, and let's get our 2 car light bulbs here. And basically you want to just put these light bulbs in the headlight like so, and of course put the headlights in. And to do these ones up, it is a 7mm, 2 bolts on each side of the headlight. Yeah, I've made this mistake many times where you put the grill on first and then you put the headlights in, but you can't see the bolts for the headlights. Bit easier if you just do it this way, to be honest. So that's that done. Now we can do the grill. So if we just put that on, and for the grill it is a 6mm, and there are 2 bolts, one in the top corner here, it's a bit hidden by the hood. There we go. Same thing on the other side. You can sort of see the bolt, but obviously you can just hover your mouse over it and it will line up. Next up are the rear lights, which are these here, and these just simply go on the back like so. You don't need to do them up or anything. They just stay there. So pretty easy. And there we go. And of course, if you do decide to go with these style of rims, obviously not the mansion ones, but if you, let's say, buy the actual same style of rim, you can put the hubcaps on. And we're just going to do that because why not? Just increase the value of the car by a little bit more just by putting these on. There we go. And if you want, you can put the Xmas lights in. It's probably best if you do, just so you can tell if your electrics are working properly. And these just basically go on the inside like so. Easy peasy. And of course, mud flaps. If you want to put mud flaps on the car, if you want to give it that sort of, that look, you can. I don't know Well, I just did that. There we go. Yeah, so it goes on the back. And there we go. That is literally everything done for putting the car together sort of thing. Alrighty, so next up we are going to do the wiring. Now, if you have your AFR gauge, you can pretty much just put that in. Pretty much just put it in the corner there, like so. And then that's the AFR gauge setup. Of course, if you've also got the extra gauges, pretty much they connected to the same place as the AFR gauge. But we're going to be doing the wiring now. And to do that, we're going to need our wiring mesh just here. And we're going to start off easy, and we're going to start with the back of the car. First things first, let's open that up. And now we are going to do the fuel tank. So we're going to go over here, and pretty much there's like a small hole there. Pretty much you want to sort of line it up there. And of course, to wire things up is F. Press F, and it will basically do that. So what we're doing is fuel tank to rear harness connector. Just like that. Boom. Easy. Is the rear lights. Now we're going to go rear light left and down to rear harness connector. Same thing with the right. So rear light right to the connector. That's the rear lights and the fuel tank done. Next up, we're going to open the hood, and we're actually going to do the front lights. So the headlights here. So what we're looking to do is just sort of look down over here, lean over, and pretty much under the battery is a front lights connector. Pretty much we want to go F on that. I just realized, yeah, I made the same mistake as I did last time. So pretty much you want to actually have these headlights out. I completely forgot about that. I'm sorry, guys. But pretty much, again, we've got to actually take off the headlights and the grille. We can sort of like glitch our head into here and basically right click like so and get the headlight out. That way we don't have to take off the grille. Or if you want, you can just take off the grille with a 6mm. Either way. But again, just lean into it and just right click. Boom. Wiring mesh. So we're going to front light connector to headlight left, and going to front light connector to headlight right. And there we go. That's the headlights done. I'm sorry, guys. I've probably done that twice maybe already in my tutorials, but yeah, it happens, you know, it happens. So again, just 7mm just to do up the headlight, and then boom, those headlights are done. Alrighty, now with that done, we are now going to go back to the front lights connector to the main harness connector. Next up, we are going to do main harness connector to the regulator, which is this white thing here. Main harness connector to the positive terminal, and main harness connector to ignition coil, which is this thing here. Then we're going to go main harness connector to the radiator fan, which is this little connection here. There we go. Now what we're going to do is grab our 7mm here, which we've already got. And we're going to come down here to the starter and pretty much undo this one bolt here. And now what we're going to do is go battery ground connector to the negative terminal, positive terminal to the starter. There we go. Now what you want to do is do up that 7mm bolt again. And since we've actually got the starter wired up, it's actually going to... So there's going to be a nut there. And what we want to do is grab our 5mm and do that up just like that. Next up, we're going to move on to the inside of the car. We're going to go in here, and pretty much we're going to look for the fuse box, which is located in this corner here. There it is. So fuse box to instrument panel 1, then fuse box into instrument panel 2. Next up, fuse box to the ignition switch. Not the ignition, but the ignition switch. There we go. Radio harness to the radio. Dash harness connector to the light switch. And now with the AFR gauge, it's the same again. So pretty much dash harness connector to the AFR gauge. Having some trouble. There we are. Simple as that. Same thing, if you've got the extra gauges, you pretty much connect it to the same thing. And there we go. That's the inside done. And silly me, I just remembered that the regulator actually has another connection, which is regulator to the alternator, which is all the way down over here. Just like so. And that's it. I usually forget about that one, so make sure you do the regulator to alternator, otherwise you know, you're gonna have some problems. All right, next up we want to do is grab our 8mm here, and what we want to do is do up the battery pretty much. So we're gonna go positive first to negative, and there we go. That's the battery done. Now you might, if you do restart your game here and there, you might end up with a loose or like an undone negative connection. So if your car doesn't start or whatever, just check that. Make sure your negative is in, because it can just disconnect itself randomly. Next up, we are gonna now do the fluids. So we are now gonna go over here to our radiator, simply remove that cap, and then we're gonna go over to our oil, which is this one, remove that. And we're gonna do, and now we're gonna undo all three of these. So our brake and clutch. Start with the easy one, which is oil. And we're just pretty much gonna tilt the bottle upside down and fill. There we go. Oil is done. Now you should have like at least half to like quarter left oil in this. So if you do end up, you know, leaking oil or whatever, you've got some spare. Now what we want to do is actually look under the car and check for any drips. No drips, and we got no sort of oil puddles, which is good. And of course we're going to check the dipstick. Press an F. Oil looks good. Very nice. Next up, we're going to do the coolant. Now you can either like pee in the radiator or, you know, just put coolant in. Up to you. There we go. Coolant is done. This has a lot of stuff in it, so obviously you got heaps of spare left. Next up is going to be the brake and clutch fluid. And pretty much we're just going to tilt the bottle again and just hover over. And finally, fuel. Let's now go over here and take off the fuel cap. Alright, there we go. Now, I only had like that half filled. It should be more than plenty of fuel to get you up to Timo's. Fluids are done. Fuel, coolant, clutch and brake, and oil, all done. Next up is going to be the alignment for the wheels. What we're going to need is a 14mm spanner. And what we're going to do is come over here to the wheel, lean in, and we're looking for this nut here. This one right on the steering rod, pretty much. So what we're looking to do is we are looking to scroll all the way down on our mouse until it stops moving, like so. Okay. Once you're sure the actual steering rod is no longer moving, pretty much what you want to do is now go up 60 times on your mouse. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, until you reach 60, of course. And there we go. That is 60 on that wheel there. Now we're going to do the same, but on the other side. Alrighty, that's the alignment done for the wheels. Now the only thing to do is start the car up and get the carburetor and distributor tuned up, ready for our first drive. We are now ready for the first startup. We're going to grab our screwdriver here, so that way we can actually tune the distributor and carburetor. We're going to hop inside. We're going to pull the choke out, obviously, and we're just going to put the key in the ignition. And it's not working. I obviously know what that is. It is clearly the negative terminal that undid itself after I reloaded the game. So that, of course, is going to happen. Perfect example of that. And I heard the key. Oh, what do you know? Let's try that again, shall we? So, choke's out, and now we're going to start the car. Now, when we start the car, it's going to take a while to start. Don't worry. That's just normal. That's going to happen every time you build the car for the first time. So, let's get in the driving mode here and start the car. There we go. And as you can hear, there's that like little ringing sound that you can hear. That's the distributor. Now, obviously, if you go to start your car and you get like a scratching noise, that means your starter's worn and you need to replace it ASAP. So again, if it just keeps happening, you'll get lucky and you'll be able to actually start the car up. But I do recommend you replace the starter. Anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to let the car warm up so we can actually tune the carburetor. But while we're doing that, we are actually going to align the distributor. So what we're going to do here is just unclick it by 2 times so the car doesn't stall on itself. And what we're going to do is scroll up on our wheel very little by little until it stops clicking or stops ringing like that. Now what I like to do is I like to move the mouse back the smallest bit until it starts ringing. And what I like to do is go back that 1 click. Yeah, I like to make it 1 click of the mouse forward before it starts ringing, sort of thing. So with that done, we can now do that back up, and there's the distributor done. Alrighty, so with the car all warmed up, we are now gonna put the choke back in, and as you can see, the AFR is reading 18, which is way too lean. What we want to do is go over here to the carburetor, and I'm gonna go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 clicks and see if that did anything. I did. Okay, so it's still a little jumpy. It's obviously too high because it's going into that red, as you can see. Now it's probably a little easier if we just lean over in the front here. That way it's just, you know, a bit easier. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4 on like downwards on the mouse. Now that's looking better. It's definitely in the green. I don't see it jumping in the red, which is good. Now obviously we're looking for 14.9 is the most optimal number for passing the inspection. And that's like, yeah, it's maxing out at like 15. We can probably go down 1 more time on the mouse. 14.8. Yeah, so pretty much we're looking for that cap. So it's not going any further than 14.8. And obviously when you're driving the car, the number's going to drop down a little bit. Yeah, so that there is the best I can do is 14.8. So as long as it's not going past that, you should be good because you're within the optimal range. So that way it's not too rich or too lean. So it's that there should be good enough for the inspection and overall just drivability. So that way it's not running either too lean or too rich. Go over to our exhaust and just double check. You know, it's a bit of a, you know, bit of a transparent sort of color. You know, it's not black or it's not white. It's quite clear, the smoke, which is good. And that's what you want. That means car's running pretty well. So now we're going to go for our first drive. Now obviously we're not going to get very far because both of our wheels are at 1%, but again, for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to be using these wheels. And yeah, let's now go inside. Alrighty, so a few revs. B for reverse. Look at that, guys. It goes into gear and everything. Beautiful. Slowly back it up here. There we go. Going to first here. And as you can hear, the revs are pretty quick. You know what I mean? It doesn't take a while for the car to sort of build up the revs, which is good. And we're just going to dump the clutch. Oh, and what do you know? Tire just pops immediately. That was just... yeah, that was kind of funny to watch, I ain't gonna lie. Obviously, if you've got a proper set of wheels, you would be driving further than what I've just done. But honestly, I'll take that as a win any day. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That there is the 2025 YEETy Satsuma car build guide. Without replacing any of the actual internal engine parts and whatnot, they're gonna wear out pretty soon. So you definitely want to start saving up for some money for the engine. Yeah, a few things are going to start going out on you. Most commonly, the rocker shaft, the starter, alternator, and the fuel pump. They're the most common parts that might go first when you don't actually replace anything on the car. Anyways, that's going to do it for this build guide. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, let me know down in the comments down below. And also, just to mention the elephant in the room, why haven't I been uploading? To be honest, guys, I've been kind of doing other things in life. You know, I'm sort of just, I don't know, I'm just sort of taking my mind off the whole content creation, you know, sort of thing. Like, I have been streaming. Some of you guys will know that I've been streaming. I've actually started streaming Mice in my Car and been doing some other, you know, other games and whatnot. I've just been doing a bit of streaming because I kind of wouldn't mind getting into that a little bit. I'm streaming on YouTube and Twitch, for you guys wondering. You should definitely come check out the live streams whenever I do go live. Thank you guys for watching the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.